Imagine being humiliated in front of a full restaurant, shouted at by a man worth millions. Your dignity stripped in seconds. But with just one calm move, the black waitress flipped the entire power dynamic, and what happened next shook the whole country. Stay tuned till the end, because you won't believe how this story turns out. And if powerful stories of justice and comeback give you chills, hit that subscribe button now. You don't want to miss what happens next. It was a warm Thursday evening at the upscale Grayson and Pine Bistro in downtown Manhattan, known for its marble counters, candlelit tables, and a clientele who arrived in black cars and designer heels. Among the polished silverware and imported wines moved a 24-year-old black waitress named Tasha Jennings, whose braided hair was always neatly tied and whose posture exuded grace despite the everyday exhaustion. She had been working double shifts to pay for her mother's dialysis treatments back in Atlanta. She smiled at everyone, even the rude guests, because she knew people didn't see her, only the apron. But she had a quiet fire behind her kindness. She never forgot what it felt like to be underestimated. That night, a particularly loud party had reserved the private corner booth. The host whispered to the staff that the guest was a powerful venture capitalist, CEO of a billion-dollar tech empire, with a habit of tipping big only if impressed. That man was Charles Whitmore, 56, loud, brash, and used to people bending over backwards for him. Tasha was assigned to his table. The moment she greeted the table with her usual warmth, he cut her off. "Just bring your best, and don't mess it up," he barked, not even looking at her. His assistant, a timid young man with a clipboard, whispered apologies behind him. As she served the first course, Charles began testing her, asking wine pairings, mocking her pronunciation, smirking with each answer. Tasha answered calmly, her voice poised, never cracking. But she could feel the other guests watching, some embarrassed, others entertained. Then it happened. As she leaned in to refill his glass, Charles said loud enough for half the restaurant to hear, "Is it so hard to hire someone who understands basic service? This is not a Waffle House, sweetheart." The room fell silent. Someone dropped a spoon. Tasha froze. Her hand trembled slightly. She turned to him, looked straight in his eyes, and replied not with anger, but with precision. "Sir, I was a culinary graduate from Le Cordon Bleu before I picked up this tray to pay for my mother's kidney treatments. But thank you for reminding me how some men confuse money with character." The room gasped. Charles smirked, thinking it was over. But what she did next shocked Tasha. Calmly stepped away from the table, walked to the back of the restaurant, and returned not with a tray, but a folded piece of paper. She handed it to the assistant. "You should read this." Curious, Charles grabbed it. His smug grin faltered as his eyes scanned the page. It was a letter typed, dated, and signed. A legal document. The restaurant had quietly gone under new ownership last month, and the new silent partner, Tasha Jennings. She had invested everything savings, a business grant for minority women entrepreneurs, and a secret backer she met at a culinary event. Charles stood frozen, pale. He stuttered, This is fake." But the general manager walked over, cleared his throat, and said, "Actually, Mr. Whitmore, Miss Jennings is one of the primary equity holders now. We would appreciate it if you treated our staff and partners with respect." The room buzzed like a live wire. Someone clapped, then another. A small round of applause broke into full-blown cheers from diners who had watched the spectacle. Charles turned red, then purple. His power, shredded by a woman he thought was just a servant. "You'll regret this," he hissed. But Tasha leaned in slightly. "Maybe, but you'll remember it." She walked off, back straight. And what no one knew was this was just the beginning. News of the confrontation spread fast. A video secretly recorded by a diner had gone viral by morning across TikTok, YouTube, and even LinkedIn. Black waitress puts billionaire in his place became the headline of the day. Thousands praised her composure, her ownership, her clapback. Interviews poured in. Brands wanted her for campaigns. But something deeper happened. Other workers began sharing their own stories of humiliation by elite clients. Tasha was invited to speak on Good Morning America, where she revealed the full story. I knew Charles Whitmore. Years ago, I applied to be an intern at one of his companies. He laughed at my resume, told me I wasn't what they looked for. That moment lit a fire in me. I worked 3 jobs, earned a scholarship, got my culinary degree in Paris, and promised myself I'd never let a man like that make me feel small again. The hosts were stunned. America was stunned. But it wasn't just about revenge. Used her new spotlight to launch the Hidden Hands Initiative, a foundation that provided scholarships and mentorship to hospitality workers aiming to start businesses of their own. Meanwhile, Charles's board was furious about the PR. Nightmare, stock prices dropped. Protesters gathered outside his office. Investors pulled out. Karma was hitting hard. But the real twist came weeks later. Tasha received a letter in her office from a name she never expected, Louise Whitmore, Charles's estranged daughter. The letter read, "Thank you. You stood up when many stayed silent. You didn't just put my father in his place. You reminded me what courage looks like. If you'll have me, I want to help fund your next restaurant 6 months later." The ribbon was cut at Braided Roots, a new fusion soul food bistro coned by Tasha and Eloise in a historic Harlem building. The mayor attended. So did celebrities. But more importantly, the kitchen was staffed entirely by women who had been overlooked, formerly homeless, formerly incarcerated, single mothers, immigrants. Each dish came with a story. And each tip went into a fund supporting their futures. Tasha stood at the bar wearing a crisp chef's jacket. A little girl approached her with a notebook. "Miss Jennings, can you sign my journal? I want to be like you." Tasha smiled, knelt down, and said, "Don't be like me. Be better than me." Meanwhile, Charles Whitmore was being investigated for workplace harassment. His empire was crumbling. But Tasha never gloated. She simply moved forward. With every plate she served, with every life she lifted, she rewrote the narrative of power. She proved that grace under fire wasn't weakness, was the ultimate strength. And that one move, a calm truth spoken in the face of arrogance, had changed not just her fate, but the fate of many. So next time you're underestimated, remember Tasha Jennings. Remember her poise, her purpose, and the moment she turned a billionaire's insult into a national awakening.